Hello everyone, I'm Bryce Carter, as some of you may know, and I would just like to start off by telling you something a little bit about myself. I love alone time. I, like all of you guys, go here to BYU, and going through the masses of those people that leave in class and just that horde of people walking through Brigham Square and just being surrounded by people all day is something that for me, I just get a little overwhelmed by. So I got lucky enough this semester that I actually don't have a roommate, so going back to my dorm and just having time to myself is just bliss. It's just the best. And that feeling that I get when I had that alone time is something I really enjoy. However, for some people, that alone time doesn't go by the same title. It goes by the title of loneliness. And it's something that millions of people are experiencing today and have been experiencing for an extremely long time. And it's an epidemic that has numerous negative effects, but it is something that all of us can help out in stopping. Today I'd like to talk to you about the negative effects of loneliness, how the afflicted feel while experiencing loneliness, and how we can help stop it. Now, for the negative effects, when I talk about my alone time, that is me choosing to be alone. With those that experience loneliness, most of the time it's because they didn't choose to be alone. They ended up in a situation where they were just by themselves. And that is when loneliness tends to creep in, when you lose that choice and that control over your life. And that's one seriously negative aspect of loneliness, is that you feel like you're losing control and that choice has been taken away from you. Second, I'd like to talk about how there have been numerous studies on this, one of which was done by a psychotherapist named Amy Morin. She referenced studies in one of her articles on Psychology Today, in which she said that the effects of loneliness have a physical effect of not smoking one, not two, but 15 cigarettes a day. And she also found that with loneliness comes a 50% premature mortality rate. You're 50% more likely to die of a premature death with loneliness than if you were outside feeling completely sociable and happy. And that is something that it's an extremely negative effect of loneliness, is that physical ailment of loneliness taking over your body where you physically can get harmed from it. And third, I'd like to talk about how I'm currently in a social psychology class where we've talked about humans and what they're meant to do. And something I've learned is that we're meant to socialize. So when loneliness creeps in and you end up on your own, that takes your biological nature and just takes it away. You may end up by yourself, and that is something that's a seriously negative effect. Your human body is not meant to be alone forever. It's meant to socialize. And without that, loneliness can have some serious mental effects as well. Now, for how the afflicted feel. Amy Morin, the psychotherapist I was talking about earlier, did a study in which she went to an ER and she asked them, do you guys have any callers that call on a chronic basis but don't have any serious symptoms? She found a big list of people and called each of them asking them, do you live by yourself? The majority of them said yes. And they explained to her that their reason for calling the ER was not because they had broken their leg or had a serious injury, but because they needed someone to talk to. And that is one thing that those who have been inflicted with loneliness feel. They're desperate to talk to someone. And that's something that is a major negative effect for anyone experiencing loneliness. Along with that, Charlotte S. Yeh, a chief medical officer and author for the Harvard Health blog, talked about a 75-year study that was done for men. And it showed that over those 75 years, those who experienced loneliness had brain functions that started to decrease and decline in quality. Their brains physically started to change and to break down little by little because of this loneliness. And that is when mental health can start to become a serious issue. The afflicted who experience loneliness end up having serious mental issues in which they have not only loneliness to deal with, but also other issues to deal with as well, such as depression and all sorts of other different issues. Finally, I'd like to throw in my own experience into this bucket of references. I, myself in high school, wasn't exactly the most popular kid, and I never really got to hang out with a serious group of friends. I didn't have someone to hang out with all the time, and I experienced that feeling of loneliness. And from my personal experience, I can tell you that loneliness is something that just destroys you day by day, little by little, and it's just the worst. I ended up going into a serious depression because of loneliness, and I had a really hard time getting out. And that's what I want to talk about last. I want to talk to you guys about how you can help people that maybe may have gone through something like I did to get out of that loop of loneliness. First, with Amy Morin, she took these callers that had been calling the ER on a chronic basis, and she just talked to them. Every now and then she'd call them, let them vent to her, let them talk to her, and they stopped calling the ER. They felt like they had been listened to and heard, which led to them not calling the ER anymore. Along with that, a PhD in psychology, Art Markman, did a study in which he's put a microphone on a group of people for 24 hours, measured how many times they had a social interaction, and how happy they were at the end of the study. It was shown that there was a major correlation between between a lot of social interaction and high levels of happiness, showing that social interaction is something that makes people happy because it helps you feel like you belong and that you are valued. And finally, for me, my loneliness ended once I came here to BYU. I met the greatest friends of my entire life who just talked to me and treated me like a human being and someone who had value. And that's what I want to leave with you guys today. Although loneliness has terrible effects, all of us can help. If we all just make an effort to reach out to someone that you think might be by themselves just a little bit too often, we can all be someone who can help stop that deadly march of loneliness. While alone time is a great thing, we can stop loneliness from spreading around the entire world and causing a major issue and instead lead to growth. Thank you.